Hello and welcome. I'm Sir Chief Dude, and this is my Kerbal Space Program 1.1.2 Let's Play series as the United Kerbal Space Agency. Before we get started, I thought it would be a very good idea to go over all the mods that I will be using in this series. So starting at the top, we have X Science, which is a science list mod. Basically, it tells me when I'm in game what science is available and how much it's worth, etc., etc. Next on the list is USI Life Support, which is a life support mod that adds supplies and other useful parts to the game to make it a little bit more realistic, where you can't just leave your Kerbals in space forever. If you do, there will be consequences. Kerbal EVE, or Environmental Visual Enhancements, just makes the game look a lot prettier. Then we have Kerbal Attachment System and Kerbal Inventory System. Both of those mods add a whole new element to EVA with your Kerbals, where they have a bunch of parts that they can use. They can assemble things, and it adds a whole new window of opportunity to the game. Then we have Kerbal Engineer and MechJeb. Both of those provide lots of calculations and other information that is useful throughout the game, and MechJeb also acts as a very good autopilot. Then we have Final Frontier, which is a merit system for Kerbals, which gives them awards and ribbons if they accomplish great feats, such as being the first Kerbal on the moon. Then we have Planetary Base, which is a parts pack that adds, well, you guessed, planetary base parts. Tarsier Space Tech adds a whole telescope mechanic to the game where you can launch space telescopes and gain science through them. Then Texture Replacer like EVE adds a whole different element to the appeal of the game visually. Kerbal Alarm Clock and Transfer Window Planner are essential tools to the game when you are playing in the long term, especially when planning interplanetary flight. Trajectories just shows you the trajectory through the atmosphere when you're flying on a planet. Werner Checker is a checklist for the VAB and spaceplane hangar. Raster Prop Monitor adds a whole new element to IVA and makes it sort of interesting, so to speak. Then we have Community Resource Pack and Editor Extensions Redux, which adds, well, extensions to the editor in the VAB and spaceplane hangar. Moving on, I figured it'd be good to give a rundown of the plan for this playthrough. So first off, I have a mission list for my space agency with crewed missions and uncrewed missions. Starting all the way at the bottom from testing our first capsule to landing on Duna. And I realize that there are other planets out there that we are going to be exploring, but for the sake of simplicity, I limited it to Duna, and afterwards, if necessary, I can modify this list and change it and add more. So in addition to that, we will of course be doing our contracts and other miscellaneous flights. So this is going to be a full playthrough. We are going to, as our main goal, unlock the entire tech tree in the game in career mode. And then after that, if we decide that there are more missions we'd like to tackle, we might extend the series. As for the difficulty, there are a few settings that I've decided on. There is going to be no crew respawn. We will have to purchase parts that we unlock in the research and development building, and there is going to be no reverting to the launch and no reverting back to the VAB. So it's going to be a hard-ish mode. Not super difficult, but at the same time, we're leaving ourselves a lot of room for some hilarious mistakes. And now that we've got that out of the way, we can finally get on with the game. So here we are at the main menu for Kerbal Space Program 1.1.2. So we're going to go ahead and start a game. Start new. Save name. Let's go United Kerbal Space Agency. Career mode, we're going to choose our flag out of the list here. Got my specially made flag that I built myself. No quick loading, no reverting, or we will allow quick loading because there are going to be certain things in deep space, and just in case there's bugs. No respawn, and we need to purchase on research. So our starting funds are going to be the same, starting science, that's all going to be the same. Since I am adding this purchase requirement, I'm going to buff my fund rewards by 20% just so that we don't have to grind so much, because I still want it to be fun. And it's not quite offsetting it because we're still going to be down a lot of money having to purchase all these things, especially in the late game. So we'll see how this pans out. We're going to hit accept, start, overwrite, because I currently have a game under that save name, but we don't really care about that. So here we are at the Space Center, level 1 everything, or actually is it? Yeah, level 1 everything. Welcome to the Space Center, says Gene Kerman, our flight director, and guide to this quick introduction. So this is the Space Center. From here, yada, yada, yada. Manage all the space program. Have a look around. I've read this all before, and you can pause it and read it if you need to. So here we are. First things first, we've got our Space Center, everything from the vehicle assembly building to the tracking station, Launchpad, runway, astronaut complex, administration building, R&D facility, spaceplane hangar, and lastly, mission control. So this is going to be where we'll start off in our little mission control building. And oh, look, it's Gene Kerman once again. So it's a nice little, looks like a basement here with some nice old computers. Welcome to mission control. Please make a selection. So we are going to just accept 2 of these contracts here, gather data, and launch our first vessel. So we got our 2 active contracts, which are the 2 maximum contracts that we have. Leave this facility, and we are on year 1, day 1, minute 1. So you see I've got all my icons down here for all my different mods. We are going to start, before we do anything, with Kerbal Alarm Clock. So as it's important, what we are going to do is, for the sake of a little bit of difficulty and realism, we are going to limit ourselves to 1 launch from each facility per week. So every 7 days, well, per Earth week, because I don't know what the week on Kerbin would be. So we're going to add this alarm. It's going to repeat every 7 days. 6 days, 0 minutes. So we're on day 1. Starting day 14, or day 7, and then day 14. You understand. Next thing we're going to do is, while we have Kerbal Alarm Clock open, we are going to open our transfer window planner. And what we're going to do is plot all of our transfer windows and add alarms for each of the planets. Kerbin to Moho, Kerbin to Eve, add a KIC alarm. Kerbin to Duna, add alarm. Kerbin to Jewel, add alarm. Kerbin to Dres, add alarm, and Kerbin to Elu, add alarm. So it's our goal, at least anyway. We've got 230 days until our first transfer window, and that's going to be to Duna. So hopefully by 230 days, we will at least have some sufficient technology to, I don't know, at least send a probe or something to Duna. So we've got our contracts. Go into the vehicle assembly building, and we will build our first spacecraft, which on our mission list is going to be Venture 1. So for this, something real nice and simple, we're just going to plop 2 of these on here. Oh yes, that works perfectly. don't need anything else. We're going to put Bob Kerman in there because he's a scientist and we are doing science tests. Venture 1. And we will save this spacecraft. Let's get that monoprop out there because we don't need that. And looking over our design checklist. Oh no, a parachute's missing. That is not important. We are not going anywhere just yet. So right here, we're just going to go out and quote unquote test our capsule. So now we're here. Right click on the command pod, do a crew report. Crew report from the Launchpad. You record the crew's assessment of the situation. All right, keep that experiment. And we're going to go EVA. And oh yes, we're doing sciencey things here. Yes, yes we are. All right, EVA report. I don't think a spacesuit was entirely necessary to get here, was it? Well, you do have your helmet off, so that's a good sign. Observe the mystery goo. That gives us 3 science. And we're going to climb back on here. Take that data. Store the experiments in the command pod. And then we'll do another EVA report while flying over Kerbal shores. This is a most precarious situation. Yes, yes, yes. We're flying over Kerbal shores because we're not touching the ground. Oh, you can see the moon off in the distance. How nice. All right, so let's get back in there. Nothing too important happened here. Oh, yes, we're just doing some collision tests. Yes, this command pod can handle a lot. All right, let's just recover this vessel and get this over with. Ah, yes, here we go. All right, Final Frontier Mission Summary. Bob Kerman. Scientific Service ribbon. Research 1 ribbon. And first landing on Kerbal ribbon. We were the first Kerbal to land on Kerbal. What a feat. So right here, we've got a total of 18 science now. So we're going to hit next. All of these were recovered. Everyone was recovered, so we got 100% of our money back, which it was a cheap ship at 2,188 funds. So next. And Bob Kerman gained 1 XP. Yay. So now we're up to 51,000 funds and 18.5 science. Let's go spend some of that. Let's get this Kerbal alarm clock out of here. All right, so here's the technology we started out with. So we're going to research engineering, which will give us the Science Junior plus this Kerbal inventory system stuff, an antenna, and a stack decoupler. There's 5 science. And basic rocketry, because we're going to need to go to space, and we can't do it with just a solid booster. Alright, now, I said we can only launch from each of the buildings once per week. Now we're going to go ahead and accept another contract. They both expire in 5 hours. This one's worth more, so we're going to accept that. And that was to orbit Kerbal. It doesn't, the deadline for this, there's no deadline on this, and there's no deadline on this. So we can just hold this one forever. We don't have to worry about that running out of time. We're going to go over to the spaceplane hangar here. And once it loads, Mark 1 command pod. Science Junior. Science Junior. Oh, this is a lovely looking little contraption. Let's put our mystery goos on the side here. And what the heck, let's add a Kerbal engineering system just to make it look cooler. So again, we're going to get rid of that monoprop because we don't need it. We'll call this Venture 2. And now we've got the little Kerbal engineer window up here, as you can see, once I put that on there. So we're going to give Bill Kerman some experience this time, since Bob got the last one. And then you see Werner Checker popped up for whatever reason. But yes, Venture 2, we are ready to go. Let's go steal some more science. Yes, I have checked the crew assignment. That little pop-up there at the end was from Werner Checker. Or Werner Checker, if you want to sound German. Crew report from the runway. Reporting in from the runway. Good thing there's not a lot of air traffic, because I don't think we ever got clearance from the tower to be here. Well, there's only a few things wrong with that. We haven't invented aircraft yet, and we have no tower, so not sure what you're on about, Bill. Let's observe that mystery, or the science junior, rather. Material shows little signs of change, though one of the samples appears to be judging you silently. I don't know if I like that. And Mr. Goo, the goo seems to behave blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's get you out. Pop. Oh, he's going to fly all over the place doing his little ragdoll dance. Uh-oh, we're getting a little shaky here. EVA report from the runway. Alright, Bill, go ahead and climb back up on there. We're going to put that data in here, store that experiment, and get back in. Now here's why I added the second mystery goo and the second material space, because now we're just going to roll very gently. If we go too fast, we might break something. Although, I mean, that would provide us with relevant scientific data on our parts durability, so to speak. So we got to be careful rolling down this hill. It's a wonderful day, isn't it? Let's see what you see. Ooh, you're making me dizzy, man. There we are. Now we are off the runway, and we can get science from the Kerbal Space Center. And that's a whole new biome, so to speak, which is just free science, since we don't have to actually go anywhere. Oh, careful now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from that little mishap there. Unfortunately, two things happened there. First thing, the game crashed. You saw that Bill started to jump out of the capsule, and then he hit his head, and then the game froze. Oh, and I just hit the microphone. Sorry about that. And then the game froze, and then I had to go ahead and exit everything, stop the recording, all that. Then I went and re-recorded everything. From that point, I finished that little Venture 2 mission where we were collecting a little bit of science. But it turns out my video recorder stopped working for a second there, or I did something wrong. I fat-fingered something, and it wasn't recording. Long story short, the game crashed, and then I lost my footage of me fixing after the game crashed. So here we are. I finished the mission, Venture 2. Bill's got his little half thing of experience. We've got all our science, and then I went and I unlocked general rocketry and the survivability node, which adds a lot of, you guessed it, life support parts and parachutes and stuff. And then we also got a rocket, a solid booster, and a fuel tank. So next up, then we went and I fast forwarded to the next week for our launch date, so that we can begin with our next contract, which is to just launch our first vessel. And for that, after Venture 1 and Venture 2, the next mission on our crewed list is Skyjump 1. And for this mission, it is only our goal to launch a vessel and reach the altitude of 5 kilometers. I think we can do that very easily and very safely while getting a lot of science at the same time. But unfortunately, with all this happening, that will be for the next episode. Again, thank you all for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. We had just researched general rocketry and survivability in the last episode, and we are ready to move on to the next mission on our